Okay, she hit live, so let's go. All right, there it is. Good afternoon to our scholars, to our families, to all of you that have joined us this Super Bowl Sunday, February 7th, 2021. Thank you so much for joining us. On behalf of A Better Chance for Youth Futures Incorporated and our founder, Mrs. Monique Robinson, I am Tennille Shaw, our Director of Educational Programs, here with our special guests to showcase another opportunity for the youth in our communities. We have with us Miss Jamila Collins, who is the leader of the Bumblebees group, and she is going to introduce herself and tell us a little bit about her program and the opportunities she has for many young women that she mentors and sponsors.
Thanks, Tennille. So I am, as she stated, founder of Bumblebees. It is a nonprofit mentoring program for young ladies, Black girls between the ages of 10 and 13 years old. We meet about once a month on the last Saturday of every month for one cycle. And we just pretty much cover everything that preteen girls experience in this age. So, they're experiencing, bullying and unfortunately peer pressure amongst themselves with each other. Discovering just who they are and learning about their image, learning how to stay healthy and fit. And we're doing all these things, giving them all these great pieces of advice on how to navigate through these different challenges while backing everything up with biblical principles. So if we're talking about how to communicate with one another, we're also going to talk about what that means to communicate as Christians. If we're talking about saving and personal finances, we're talking about why it's important to tithe and what the tithe means. We're also talking about that with health and fitness and self-image and sisterly love and all of those things. And then we kind of wrap up our cycle with a big graduation where the girls elevate to the next step. And then at that point, they come back and we accept another group of girls. And we've been doing this for the last 7 years, and we are in our 8th year at this moment, and we're trucking along at this point. So we're excited for the new group that's going to come in next year.
Sorry, I was on mute. Hey, thank you so much for that introduction. I'm so excited about this as a mom of a preteen girl in that age group. I'm like, wow, what an incredible opportunity, because we see so many adolescents that, don't have that support. And I just really want to ask you, what inspired you to start this group?
That's so lengthy. How much time do we have today? I had a bunch of different inspirations. Honestly, I would say about in 2013, I was working for a financial institution and I was completely bored out of my mind. I didn't feel like that I was doing anything that really meant something. I wanted to do something that was more impactful. And I knew that in that space that, Black women were, I believe, and I'm not just saying this because I am a Black girl, but I am saying it because I'm a Black girl. We're special. And I wanted to do something that was going to be impactful to someone like myself at a younger age. And so I had an opportunity to participate in a mentoring program. And I was able to see a young lady from her high school, her senior year in high school throughout college. And now she is a 30-plus-year-old woman, which makes me feel like I'm completely old. But I actually was able to mentor her through some of those tough and challenging situations that she had to deal with, whether it was finding out which college she was going to go to, what she was going to major in, and how she was going to navigate her college experience. And I can't say, and I'm not saying this because I had a hand in it, but she is extremely successful right now. She's traveled all over this world in more places than I can ever imagine for myself. She's been places I've never even been myself. And she's right now an employee with the North Carolina Panthers in the NFL. Yeah, she's the bomb. So I'm excited. I'm just excited to see how she's gonna keep going. But at this point, yeah, I was inspired by an opportunity to mentor, and I just took it on.
That's awesome. You got a shout out from Miss Strotter. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Just so thankful for you. Definitely, we love our shout outs. We need, just encouraging and inspiring each other. I love how you said that you have taken your experiences and used that to mentor that next generation, because I feel like those of us that have it often take it for granted. that mentorship,
Absolutely.
that sponsorship. I know that I am where I'm at because of the opportunities that I've had, because I had people look at me and say, hey, I think you would be good there. I think that would work. And there's so many of our young women that are just overlooked just because of a variety of reasons.
Yeah,
Um,
that fruit was definitely planted by somebody else as well. So yeah.
so I would like to know what kind of, you touched on this a little bit in your introduction, but I'd like to know what kind of activities are y'all, especially with the COVID pandemic virtual thing going on, what kind of activities are you guys able to engage in to build the girls up?
Unfortunately, we weren't able to do as much. So our cycle starts in January and it ends in December. Sounds like a lot, but it's really not. We kind of take a break in November. We do our end of the year cycle workshop in October, and then we graduate everyone in December. So we were able to kick off 2020 doing our annual kickoff. We introduced the Cycle 7 girls into the hive, gave them all their little treats and trinkets for joining and being a part of the hive. And then we did our annual Black History Month project that we do every year. And then COVID hit and we were on quarantine. So we had to go from this in person space to a virtual space. And I thought, like, oh, this is going to be great. Now I can figure out how to expand the product and get the brand out there. I'm like, yes. And then it hit me. Part of my purpose is the fact that I love having the interaction with the girls. And I got so bummed out. I was like, by the summer, I'm like, no, we need to see each other because this right here is not getting it. So one of my board members, I give everyone an opportunity. So it's not just me that the girls see. They see everyone that I'm associated with has a skill set or a special asset that they have that I want them to be able to share with my girls. And so one of my board members, she had a health and fitness field day planned, and it was amazing. So we had, we did, of course, the standard temperature check to make sure the girls were socially distanced and had hand sanitizers and personalized bumblebees masks. So it was really, really cute. But we got out there and they did like competitions against each other. They went on their separate teams and they just ran around the park and we had a great time. So we were able to do that. That was the only time we were able to get together in person outside of our community service event, which we do with the African American Male Wellness Walk that takes place every year. I know they travel around to different cities, so some people are familiar with that organization. And so we handed out water bottles to the participants in the walk. And so those are only 2 times we got together, but we had to figure out what to do. We canceled our sleepover, so we didn't have that. The girls were devastated because I treat them like little princesses during the sleepover. They get to go to the most expensive and loftiest hotel in the city, and we stay there for the night. And they get to run around, have fun, soak up a bunch of sugar. And we didn't get a chance to do that. But instead, so for the graduation, I wanted to make sure that the girls still, because they did participate virtually. I wanted to make sure that they understood that even though COVID happened, that it wasn't going to deter whether or not they became members of the hive, official members of the hive. So they went from being worker bees to actual bumblebees in December. I went around to each of their houses and handed them their gift, swore them in, took pictures, and went on to the next house. So I did that for 9 girls. This year. It was great. It was a lot of fun. It was very personal. So it was the most personal graduation that we've had thus far. But that's how COVID like really messed up the hive, but we still found a way to get it done. And we just decided this year we're going to kind of take a break. Not that we're not interacting, we still are. We're just going to make sure that the time that was lost last year, we're going to get back. And so the girls that went through the cycle last year, we're going to have some special workshops prepared for them.
A little bit more love from Sammy Kenyatta. I wanted to just say that I know that I've worked with teenagers as well the last, off and on, but definitely more intensely the last couple of years. Have you seen the girls express how being on quarantine has really just affected them? Have y'all talked about that?
Oh yeah, the first month, because so we went in quarantine on March 16th, I think it was March 13th or 16th. And we actually had our first virtual workshop at the end of that month. So they were only on for 2 weeks. It was like a mini spring break to them. So they felt nothing. They were like, oh, I'm good. By April, they were so over it. Like I had anticipated this group of girls because I knew their personalities were above and beyond like normal. So I was expecting, a lot of great interaction. So I knew that April workshop, it was going to look a lot different, and it did. So the girls, they were just bored. They were completely bored. We just talked about the different things that we had learned while in the hive. One girl learned to make jewelry. Another girl had perfected her craft at doing nails, and she did mine at one point. I need to go see her again, by the way. But another one did baked goods. She had learned to cook. So they had taken their energy and kind of redirected it, which I absolutely appreciated and loved. But by May, they were not having it. So June, I made sure I was like, we have to get together because these girls are going to be like, what am I doing all this for? And so June was a nice break. We met virtually again in July and then saw each other again in August. So yeah, the in-person piece is important, and they're just trying to figure out the same way most of us adults are trying to figure out what to do with their time, because it's a lot of extra time for them. They're not seeing their friends in school. They're not being able to see their friends at sleepovers, at least for those that aren't going to sleepovers. They need that social interaction just as much as we do.
So I love how you stamped, how they redirected their energies and honed some crafts. You get a little bit more love out from Miss Sobs. She's just sending you a shout out today. The thing about it, it's just amazing what you have for them. So this is related to the question I asked you earlier, but can you name some mentors that really made an impact for you? You're transferring that mentorship to the young girls.
Absolutely. Gladly. So I had a mentor. I've had a lot of mentors. And I don't want to slight anyone by not mentioning, but this one particular woman, and I know she knows who she is. Her name is Caress Pendleton. She was the only person that I actually approached to be my mentor, and I was scared to death to do so. Um, she was and still is an executive with a financial firm that I was working for previously. And I remember I went up to her after okay, let me back up. So I was actually leading a business resource group, and, business resource groups are for different professionals that are part of a company. So they have a Black business resource group, pretty much one for women, for vets, and so forth and so forth, so on. So she was actually speaking on a panel at one of the business resource groups events that I was hosting, and we were talking about the importance of mentorship. And we were talking about it specifically as it related to corporate America, and how important it was that if you wanted to move up that ladder, that corporate ladder, that you needed a mentor. You needed somebody that had kind of already went through that path, knew what they were doing, and was going to be able to show you the ropes in case you came across any bumps or bruises. And the the event, I remember I call them God hits. I don't discount the fact that I believe God does send you an unction, a source or something that says do this. And so I had a God hit, and he was just like, "You really don't have a mentor." And I'm like, "Yes, I do. I got a bunch of them around here." And then he said, "No, you don't. You need this one." And I went to her. I'm thinking like, I don't want this one. She's kind of intimidating. I don't know. So, but I went to her and I asked. I said, I need a mentor. I need someone that's going to hold me accountable, and I believe you can do that. I said, and I would love if you could be my mentor. And she said, she pondered for like a couple of seconds, and she said, "Okay, do you know what to bring to our first meeting?" I said, "Yes, a pen, paper, and my resume." She said, "Yeah, I'll mentor you." And I said, "Oh, well, thank you." Wasn't that hard at all. Our first meeting, I loved her humility. She was, I was a marketing person. I think she was more along the lines of operations. And so she was like, "Well, if you want to do marketing, I can't help you in this area, but I know people who can," which I believe is an important piece of a mentor. You don't always have all the answers, but you should know somebody that does, or that knows somebody that knows somebody that does. And so she was able to do that. But by our second meeting, she sat me down, and she was just, well, didn't sit me down. We were on the phone, and she said, "So what does your relationship with God look like?" And I was like, "I mean, we're good. We're cool. I mean, I go to church." Right. And so she was like, "No, I mean, like, do you serve in church? Are you being a servant to your church? Are you helping out in any way?" And I was like, "I mean, not exactly." She's like, "Oh, so you're a bench warmer." I was like, "A bench warmer?" I was like, "Oh, I guess so. Then yes, I'm a bench warmer. I come in, I pay my tithes every so often. I'll come in and participate as I feel like I want to or have the time to, but I was not a committed church member. And so she said, "Well, let's work on that first." And so I was just shocked that in this space where I, thought I was getting more of a business relationship, I ended up getting a very personal one. And to this day, I greatly appreciate that because it literally changed the entire trajectory of what I was going to do. I was just kind of muddling along. I knew something needed to take place, but I didn't know what. And after that interaction, yeah, it just took off. I became a full-time church member. I was leading ministries in my church. And that's where Bumblebees came out. And Bumblebees was birthed out of that experience. And so yeah, she was definitely the most impactful. And while I have plenty others, and I am so grateful because every person has contributed to me in some way, shape, or form up until this point. She definitely was the one that kind of went, here you go.
Listen, that is so amazing. I'm amening you over here. I just turned on mute so I don't interrupt your flow of thought. But Miss Edwards sent you a shout out as well. Just sending her love to you. I know that, there's so many, I think sometimes being a parent really just kind of opens our eyes to the needs of our kids. How does that influence how you interact with the girls?
So my parenting, I let my son. So it's funny. I mentor Black girls, but I also have a Black son. So it's a great balance. And I used to always say, I want a daughter, I want a daughter. But when I had my son, I was just like, oh, this is easy and this is light. And he's so respectful and so mannerable. So he makes that job of being a mom that much easier. But when I tell you, like, we've never had a battle about the time I spend with Bumblebees and the time I spend with him. Because he and I like to do a lot of different things. Like my girls know nothing about Marvel's comics. However, I can have a whole hours long conversation about the importance of Black Panther and Thanos and all these other things with my son, with my boy. Like that's our thing. We love to go skating together. So we have our own little personal um relationship and things that we like to do with each other. And then I have my girls. So when I'm ready to talk about hair and nails and boys and everything else, I can do that with my girls over here. So it's a great balance. I haven't had an issue. We don't have that problem. He's extremely helpful. So when I'm having workshops, he's usually helping me carry stuff in and setting up and helping the young ladies with their projects and stuff. So I have no complaints or no issues with being able to balance the mommyhood and the mentorship.
Yes, it is definitely a treat to be a mom of a Black son, especially one that's a
Yes.
successful. I was like, I don't know those of you that are watching if you're part of that Facebook group, but it's just nice to be able to just share that as well. As a nonprofit, I know that sponsorship is important to make these opportunities happen for your girls. Can you speak on both the sponsorship and ways to contact you if they would like to help out with that?
Absolutely. So we are actually trying to get more sponsors right now. Right now, Bumblebees runs off of the wonderful support that I get from parents, my alumni association members, my friends and family, my Wilberforce friends and family, and my Eastmore High School friends and family. So people that I've come in contact with that really believe in what it is that I'm trying to do with the young ladies, they're our biggest supporters and donors. So all of this is donation run at this point. So we are looking to kind of alleviate that and branch out and get some sponsorships.
And just making those opportunities happen for the girls. So many girls, and as an educator and as a parent, I've seen that it's not that parents don't want to support their kids, but they're trying to earn money. They're trying to earn a living to support their physical needs. And so it's often sometimes difficult when the parents are in that mode to remember that they still have to develop this person. So sometimes the kids, and they're great kids, but they get lost kind of in the fray or whatever. So I'm so thankful that you have this program for our young women, because that's what they are. They're young women, and some of them are becoming young women way faster than we ever wanted them to. They're having to, I know our kids are internalizing the things that they hear on the news and how to cope with that. So it's amazing that you have that for them. I would really ask that if you wouldn't mind in the comments putting your email address and contact information so that our parents and our sponsors would love to can reach you as needed. But the other thing that I want to talk about is what makes you keep going. Like you said, that this trying to get these things going and make them happen during this pandemic has been definitely more challenging than probably the previous 6 or 7 years that you've encountered. So what makes you keep wanting to continue?
Because it's an ever consistent need. It's that I don't think that we're ever going to come across a point where we don't need women to reach back and help our girls. I mean, it's biblical too. I'm not a biblical scholar where I can give you that scripture, but there is a scripture that talks about the older women reaching back and helping out the younger. And I think for as long as we're in this time frame on this earth, that's going to be a need. So the fact that the need is present, I'm going to be present for as long as I possibly can. And I know for a fact that it's part of what God put in me of what I'm supposed to accomplish while I'm here. So I know for a fact there's a piece of me that's not going to operate and function if I don't do this. So that's what keeps me going every day when I wake up. It's like, how can I make this organization the best that it can be and reach the most girls while maintaining its kind of not secluded, but it's very inclusive, but of kind of its elite kind of status that we're trying to build up. So we want our girls to be the best of the best, but how can I do that and still maintain the want of reaching out and getting as many girls as possible? So as long as the need is present, Jamila will be too, and so will Bumblebees.
Awesome. Can you share one without disclosing too much personal information? Can you share one of the testimonies of your girls that you've helped?
Oh my goodness.
I know we have so many parents and I don't want to break any privacy laws, but I want our sponsors and our viewers to hear the impact that it's having.
Yeah, I can honestly say I'm going to. So I'm not even worried about breaking any confidentiality rules. It's about which one of my girls I want to brag on.
We have time. You don't have to limit it to one. We have time. You can talk about a couple different girls. It's fine.
You know what? I will okay, so there's actually a couple. So one young lady, I'm not gonna say their name, so know who they are by this story. So one young lady, she needed to figure out, or I would say she needed to, her mother wanted her to figure out where her voice was. She kept saying she had an older sister that had a very big and broad personality. And the younger sister, the older sister was too old to be a part of Bumblebees when I first started, but the younger sister was right at that age, so she got her in. And I remember when I did the kickoff, she was like, I need my baby to find her voice. She was like, she lets her older sister talk for her. I will ask her a direct question and she will not answer me. Her older sister will answer the question for her. She's like, I need her to find her voice. Well, what's funny is she has a beautiful singing voice. The girl can sing. She has a very soft and sultry singing voice, but she was very timid about speaking. And so one of the things that we do in the Hive is we have this thing called Buzzworthy. And so the girls have to get up before each other and they have to talk about the latest and greatest thing that God has done for them since we last met. So if they're talking about their grades or they're talking about a sports team they got on or a concert that they just did, they get this opportunity to brag on themselves. So it helps with them feeling confident in what it is that they're doing while also practicing their public speaking skills. So this young lady went through and she participated in all the buzzworthies and she had little concerts here and there. But by the time she was done, her mom said, oh my gosh, like she was like, not that she couldn't get her to stop talking, but it was kind of like she has come into her own. And I wanted that so much. I love when the parents are just like, well, I don't know if she can do this. And then when they're done, I've gotten so many great testimonies about the girl saying, no, that she was able to, she's talking to her mom more openly and freely. They're having these conversations and she's just like, oh my gosh. The second one is actually her cycle sister. I'll never forget, we did a communications work piece and we were talking about the proper ways to communicate with each other and how your parents should communicate. So it's a well-known fact that when the girls get picked up, teenage girls, they don't always like to give up information. So even if you ask them, how was your day? They're going to be like, fine. Right. They're not going to say much. They're just like, it's okay, or it's fine. And so this one, she had asked, the mom had asked, like, so how was y'all's experience in Bumblebees? And they're like, oh, it's okay. And she's like, sometimes I wonder if they're even paying attention to what it is that you're saying. Well, the young lady got in trouble and the mom was yelling at her, standing over her, yelling at her. And she said, Sister Jamila says that you're not supposed to stand over me like that and yell at me. She said, okay, let me get down to your level and talk to you. So she said, in that moment, I knew my child was listening to what you were saying. She was like, and I even, it takes parents too. She was like, you know what? You're right. I shouldn't be. Let me get down here and we're going to have a conversation. So stuff like that. I love hearing stories like that because it lets me know. Sometimes I'm questioning, like, am I just being a repetition of what you're hearing at home, or is this new information to you? But yeah, there's always some way that they end up showcasing what it is that they have learned in some way, shape, or form.
That is so awesome. Like, I know that they need to find their voice. And I love what I'm hearing from you. I mean, I've seen so much on social media with them talking about queens lifting queens. And that just sounds like the heart of what you're doing. You have, maybe they're not queens yet, but they're coming into their own and they're uplifting each other. I have two questions for you. For the parents that would like for their child to be involved, what are the next steps? Especially, I know you are based out of Ohio, correct? Columbus, Ohio. And with the things that are going on, we're not quite sure when the pandemic's going to lift. Are there any ways for kids to participate virtually? So two questions.
Right. So the way to contact, so in September 1st, we always kick off our application campaign. So we release the next cycle application. So because we paused this one, the next cycle will still be cycle 8. And those applications will be available September 1st of 2021. What was your next question?
So you said that the next steps for parents that want to join. So you'll drop in your information about your website and how they can access. Do you guys have a Facebook page?
We do. We have Facebook on Facebook.
Okay, so the website and Facebook page, and then because we're kind of in this they're rolling out the vaccines, but we're still in this quasi state. Will there be an opportunity for girls to participate virtually with you, even if they're not in your city?
So down the road, yes, that is definitely part of the plan, is to have that as an option. We also prefer to startup hives that will be in person, and virtual will still be just like a secondary option. But like I said, 2020 did show us that it can be done. It just won't be done right now. But if you're in Columbus, we can be reached at www.bumblebeesgirls.com. And that's BumbleBeesGirls.com. And like I said, the applications will be available September 1st on the website. And we are Bumblebees Girls on Instagram, Twitter, and just Bumblebees on Facebook.
I said, perfect. You get some love from Miss Price. She's sending you lots of love and kisses out there. So is there, it sounds like you guys, it's just another avenue for mentorship and talking. Is there any particular preparation the girls need other than being in that age? Some of us join late, that 10 to 13 age window. Is there any other preparation you'd like for them to have coming in, or?
No, literally come as you are. I want the girls to come as they are, because I'm not here to change any of the girls, except for, of course, any negative issues that they might be dealing with. But I want them to come in because I want them to come in as who they are, because what we're going to do is expand upon that. So I recently looked up the term educator, and educator at the root of its word means to bring forth. So like, you are to take the things that are already in that person and just make sure that they are given out to the world. And our job is to make sure that those things, of course, are the positive and great things that are already in these kids, and we have the honor of mentoring and educating. So that's my job. I don't want them to come in already bougied up, like, oh yeah, none of that. I don't want them refined or anything else. I want them right as they are, because that's going to be the best way that we can deal with them going forward.
What a fabulous opportunity for so many young ladies. It is a blessing to have you representing Queens Lifting Queens. That's just what I hear ringing in my head right now. It's just lifting up these young women to not only be amazing themselves, but to share that awesomeness with others. You know, a lot of times we are really good at raising our girls to be powerhouses in their own right, but then sometimes we don't teach them how to speak with other people, and to lift each other up, and then we don't want to be that cliche of pulling each other down. I want to, can you talk about maybe I know that we're in a weird time, but the next, for those of us that are listening, the next event that's coming up, I know you said you had to pause with I apologize, pause with the pandemic items, but what's the next event for your Bumblebee girls?
So the next event that we're having it's going to be centered around self-image. So we have tenants, and one of them is self-image and self-awareness. But we're going to specifically be talking about what it means to have healthy boundaries in relationships.
Yes.
It's not just with each other, or even not just with each other, but your friendships, familial relationships, and of course your intimate ones. So for the girls that are stepping into dating, we're going to talk about what it means to have a healthy relationship with a young man, and how there are certain boundaries he should and should not be crossed. He not should, but that he should not be crossing as it relates to themselves. But it's going to be geared primarily towards, we're having a serious issue with sex trafficking, and our girls just, surprisingly enough, it's not even about, the creepy white van that you see parked in the parking lot. It's really about the relationships that they've built with boys or young men. And so we want to teach them what it is to have a healthy relationship with each other, and with their relation, with those kind of relationships. So I don't want to call them love relationships. They shouldn't be falling in love right now. But
I know, so their parents are like, oh my gosh, are we there yet? And sometimes we get there a little faster than we wanted to, especially with all the media and things like that. I know for me as a parent, I am really always talking to my children, my daughter, especially because she's in the age group that you're talking about how much, like, how media can be a double-edged sword, how it can be a good thing, but it can also be a negative thing. How do you, I know that the social media platform is a necessary to get the message out and let the girls communicate, but how do you guys address that and keep them safe?
So, social media. I hate social media. At least for them at this age. So we've done a couple workshops on social media and the effects thereof. We've done a scientific breakdown of what dopamine is and all that other stuff, and they're still kind of like, so I want to be on it. But one of our key things is that we are trying to kind of destroy the standard of beauty of what that looks like for themselves. If they can see themselves in a different light, they tend to gravitate towards that. So if they see the Kamala Harrises of the world, where you can still be a beautiful Black woman, highly educated, and get the highest office in the land, and that's a cool thing to look at, versus someone who has, an account where they're showing parts of their bodies off as though that's the way to, get attention. We are going to promote it from that angle. So instead of promoting, oh, don't be on social media at all, we're trying to figure out what is the most positive form of using that tool that there is, because they're going to go for it. And usually they're going to be the ones finding out about it before we do. I know half the girls, they're not even on Facebook. I remember I told one of them, I said, you know what, I'm going to be doing something, I'm going to be on Facebook. She was like, yeah, I'll get that after I graduate from college. I was like, what? She's like, well, that's where all the older people are. And I'm like, the world. So instead of just saying no at all to social media, we're just trying to figure out how to pivot and give them a more appropriate and positive way of handling those tools that they have.
Because it's here, like social media, and every time you turn around, it's another one. I'm like, oh, okay. And then as a parent, you have to go look it up. I'm like, okay, wait, hold on. Educate me. What is this? I was like, wait, okay. So tell me, what is this? I hadn't heard of, like, I don't know about, the parents that are listening, but I know I had to get up on, let's see, last year I had to get up on TikTok, and this year I've had to, Among Us has taken off, and I've had to get Minecraft has been around for a while, but some of the other ones we've had to really just kind of hone in and focus in and just remind our girls to be careful of to definitely do the positive. I love that you're sharing the positive information, but to be careful of the information they are letting get out on social media, because I said, you never know who's on the other end. So I think
I'm sorry. I tell them all the time that you make this what it is that you want. So whatever you see because you want to see it. If you don't want to see it, you don't have to. So you have the ability to block those people who are on there that aren't supposed to be there. You don't want to see the latest rapper and girlfriend information. You have all the abilities to handle that. We just want to make sure that they have the tools to figure out what those things are. So yeah.
And so if you could, before we get too far away, I know we are going to probably wrap this up quickly because I know people are prepping for the big game, those that are still watching that. And if you could just drop in the comments, your contact, your website, I know you said there's Instagram and Twitter, just to kind of put that up there so people can copy and paste straight from the website. If you can put that in the comment section. And then is there anything else that you think those, not just parents, but sponsors need to know about what you guys are doing or what would be helpful to take your group to that next level?
Right now we're just looking for opportunities to sponsor. We a lot primarily with those products and companies that we're already kind of using. Like I said, we take some of the girls to the Hilton every year. If we can get those rooms a little deeply discounted, that'd be great. We're looking at right. So we have a lot of opportunities to just make sure that Bumblebees is going to go to the next level, and that would be the best way and the most significant way, I think, is through sponsorship opportunities. So I will leave my information right here as to how to get in contact with me personally and with someone in the organization that can kind of figure out how we can partner and get together. We're in a great time right now too to just to pour into our youth and to pour into our kids, and they're eventually going to be the ones running this whole show one day. So the more time and money that's invested in them, the better. And I don't think my chat is working, actually. I'm sorry.
Just kidding. So what we're going to do is, I know that you've shared that information with our founder, Miss Monique Robinson, and she'll put that on the website so that people can have access to that. Miss Price is really just sending love, and you have to encourage them to be the best version of themselves, because the good thing is that the standard of beauty is changing. Like it was the same way for so very long, but the standard of beauty is changing, and helping them accept themselves is so difficult when one version is always presented to them, and if they don't fit that particular mold, if they fit that particular mold, it kind of works, but if they don't fit that particular mold, it's very, very difficult. And just watching them struggle with with self-esteem and just that confidence, as a parent, that is so hard to watch them go through that transition. So it is a blessing that you have this to help them get through that. I feel like in a lot of ways there's so much support in elementary because they're so young. There's so many counselors and things like that. I feel like when you get to high school, people have understood that they need more counselors in that. But I feel like that middle school range, that 5th through 6th grade, they just kind of float around for a little while, and you don't know.
They do. And surprisingly, that's when they're coming into learning about all these things that's kind of going to shape them. And it's exciting and scary all at the same time. And that's the reason why I think I was more drawn to that space, because, and honestly, it was actually kind of a personal personal choice, because I said the little ones, I need to be able to talk to somebody and for them to pay attention and get direction. So by 10, you kind of know that you've been through school for a few years, but by high school, most of them figure out, I already know everything I need to know, so I'm not having that conversation. So let's see where we can meet in the middle. And so that's how I arrived here. But then I did more study, of course, as I said, well, this is the group I want to look at. But I find that while girls figure out who they are and are aware of their image at a much earlier age, when it's fully developed and they're starting to figure out and learn what others are thinking about them, is at this age. And so it's a very crucial time to get them. And so the more connections that we have to be able to pour into our kids, the more opportunities with partnerships and sponsorships that we have, that's going to be able to guide and direct them in a positive path. Is going to be extremely helpful.
No, I applaud you. I'm so thankful that someone like you has seen the need and just wanted to make this happen. My daughter has come home and talked about things that I was just like, my jaw, you're trying to put on your parent poker face, and you're just like, we didn't talk about that till 8th grade. We didn't talk about that great. Like, you're trying
Exactly.
to bring it in and you're like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh. And then it's like, so it's one thing when you know that you want to talk about things. It's another thing when they catch you off guard and they're already discussing it and you're like,
Yeah.
I have to guide you. And it's really scary because, a lot of times their friends give them what I call fractions of the truth. Like there's a little bit of truth in it. It's just enough truth in it for it to not be a complete
Goodbye.
lie.
Yes.
It's not a complete lie, but it's not the full picture. And that's what we want to present for them so they're making the best decisions. I applaud
Yeah.
you, Miss Collins. Thank you so
Thank
much for your
you.
time. Thank you for what you're doing for the girls. I know we're going to ask that we're going to put it on the website and all of our social media so they can contact you. Thank you to all our parents, our scholars, our families. Please, especially if you live in the Columbus area, please reach out and just see how you can be a part of turning these remarkable young ladies um, into our future. Like
Yeah.
they need it. But I
Yeah. And
appreciate
for
you
the
so
parents
much.
who have any skill sets, any partnerships that they have, or even internal knowledge that they have that they want to get out, I welcome the opportunity for others to facilitate workshops as well.
Thank you to our parents I'm assuming these are our parents with all their shout outs. You guys have
Yes.
been amazing. I'm just saying that because they came on Facebook and I was like, well, okay, maybe the babies are so okay. So we're gonna wave now and just say thank you so much. But her contact information will be on the website. Thank you
Yeah.
guys.
Thank you.